Too often, we take our bodies for granted. But under pressure, our bodies can show us how extraordinary they truly are. This complex machine grew out of millions of years of evolution. So intricate, we're still mystified by many of the things going on inside us. A hidden world, but one we can now explore in 3D as never before. Sensations keep us alive, letting us see, hear, and touch our world. They begin beneath our skin. More than 1 million tiny sensors feed us raw data. 45 miles of nerve fibers let us respond at incredible speed. Our sensations warn us of danger. When we're attacked, they're our first line of defense. They let us perform extraordinary feats. Sensations will even save our lives when we're pushed to the limits. In the teeth of a storm, a pilot guides a 7-ton machine with unerring precision. Achieving this tests the body's sensory system to the extreme. Caught on camera by the Coast Guard, 2 boys face certain death. Just off the Oregon coast, fierce currents have stranded them, and the tide is rising. Their only hope is a helicopter. $9 million worth of high technology. But with winds battering the chopper, what matters more to the boys is a mechanism far more complex than any helicopter. 500,000 microsensors linked to one of the most sophisticated communication systems on the planet. You'll find it beneath your skin. We're equipped with a forest of amazing devices, including touch receptors, sensitive enough to feel a single beat of a fly's wing. Pilot Matt Gingrich needs all his sensors on full alert to save the boys. Each square inch of Matt's hands holds 600 touch sensors. Some, near the surface, record the lightest of contacts. Others lie deeper and measure harder sustained pressure. Through a web of nerves, they fire signals to Matt's brain. In fractions of a second, the brain signals motor nerves, triggering precise movement of his hands on the controls. 4,000 nerves direct each hand as he holds the chopper steady above the rocks. At the same time, Matt's other sensors are hammering him with information. He must read data from a dozen instruments and watch the horizon. He must listen to the crew, who can see what's going on below. Amid all this, Matt's sensory system must calculate and balance altitude, speed, and position. That means outperforming any computer on Earth.
Easy back. All right, either way will take up signal.
We still don't have a machine that has the breadth to be able to do all of those different things and at the same time instantaneously is assessing the outcome of each one of those things.
Nice and easy, sir. Right 30. Forward 15. Easy back, you're doing good.
The speed of signals in Matt's nerves is crucial to his actions.
They're right there, you're doing perfect.
It keeps the rescue swimmer from crashing into the rocks.
You can hold it right there. Hold position. Hold.
What's surprising is the nerve structure that makes the speed possible. Our nerves are bundles of thin cells, some more than 3 feet long, carrying electrical signals to and from the brain. As insulation protects electrical wiring, a sleeve of fat surrounds key nerves. And it's this fat layer that keeps signals from interfering with one another. so they can rocket around Matt's nervous system at over 250 miles per hour.
Easy back and left, very easy back and left. We don't want to get the swing. You're going left.
With the rescue swimmer dangling close to the rocks, this is the trickiest part of the operation. Matt's nerves work so fast and his touch is so precise that he can make tiny adjustments without thinking. He's acting on instinct, depending on sensations working faster than we could think. It's something we all do, every day. It lets us make music, create art, and save lives.
Okay, swimmer and survivor are below the aircraft. Hold. You're doing good, Mr. Davis. You're doing good.
This forest of touch sensors allows us to respond instantly to whatever's happening around us. But they're not evenly distributed beneath our skin. Our hands have 100 times as many sensors per square inch as the back of our legs. They're placed where we need them most. If size went by sensitivity to touch, our bodies would look something like this. Tongues and lips twice as big. The same with hands, fingers, and feet. Other senses have different patterns. Sensors for heat are most dense in our fingertips, nose, and strangely, our elbows. They play a critical role. When we're pushed to the limits, they might just keep us alive. All over the human body, every second of every day, nerves carry sensations to our brains. Even when we don't realize it, these signals control how our bodies function. When it gets hot, sensors and nerves work together to keep us alive. The deep Australian desert can reach 130 degrees. It's no place to get stranded. But that's what happened to Matthew McGough and his daughter Shannon, more than 100 miles from the nearest town. It's so hot here that a cut of beef left outdoors would roast in less than 4 hours. Moments after their pickup truck breaks down, their bodies go into action to hold their core temperature at about 98.6 degrees. It's all thanks to hundreds of thousands of tiny heat sensors and the cooling system they trigger. When our skin heats up beyond 93 degrees, sensors signal our brain. Its central thermostat uses other nerves to start the cooling process. 1 hour later, both of them are sweating profusely. There's no more efficient way to cool the body. Beneath our skin lie over 1 million tiny sweat glands. When we heat up, our blood vessels dilate, bringing blood and heat to the skin surface more quickly. The sweat glands extract water from the blood and release it into the open. As it evaporates, it cools us. Under ordinary conditions, we produce about 2 pints of sweat. The human body is 75% water. To survive, our vital organs need their share of that fluid. Normally, we have enough to spare for the cooling system, provided we keep the body filled up. After 4 days in the Australian desert, Matthew and Shannon have run out of water. They're so dehydrated, they start to hallucinate. Now, their bodies must respond to the water loss. To keep the body's vital organs supplied, the brain fights back with a surprising response. Overriding the body's thermostat, the brain orders the sweating to stop. The sweat glands drain dry. Next, nerves signal other parts of the body to suck water back into the heart, lungs, and kidneys. The blood thickens and coagulates. Water is absorbed from the large intestine, causing constipation. Even the eyes dry out.
I can remember how your mouth's all dry and you can't really swallow because there's nothing there to swallow with.
Your tongue's like having a brick in your mouth.
Shannon and Matthew are near collapse. But instead of cooking in the heat, the network of sensors beneath their skin has kept them alive for over a week. They survived because their bodies balanced the need for water and the need to keep cool. Our body's temperature responses can be the difference between life and death. Alongside heat sensors are other nerve endings programmed to deliver another crucial sensation: pain. Pain signals us to slow down. Each of us responds differently to that message. Most of us would rather do without it. But believe it or not, pain keeps you alive. Amy Racina is hiking alone in California's Sierra Nevada range when she stumbles. She loses her footing, dropping 60 feet onto solid granite. The fall fractures her right foot and shin bone. Her right knee disintegrates, exploding into 4 pieces. Her left leg shatters at the thigh and hip. Instantly, Amy's nervous system is on the case, firing pain signals from ripped skin and wrecked bones. Pain is there to protect us by alerting the brain to harm. Any injury triggers chemical reactions within pain sensors. They fire electrical signals into the nervous system that travel to the brain. Pain nerves work more slowly than others. Signals that convey dull throbbing pain operate so slowly that we sense the delay between an injury happening and the pain it triggers. This delay gives us precious moments to escape the cause of the pain before the full effect overwhelms us. In the brain, pain works differently from other sensations. Other senses are processed in specific areas: sight, hearing, touch. But if you could show pain, it would look something like this. It's processed in many different parts of the brain, and the areas activated differ from one person to the next.
Pain's a perception. It's in the brain.
So we all feel pain differently. It depends on who we are and what we're doing. As she wakes up from her fall, Amy Racina expects to be in agony. But in extremes, our nervous system can perform an amazing trick.
I looked down at my legs. There was a huge gaping hole where there used to be a right knee. I couldn't so much as move either leg. But surprisingly, there was no pain.
The damage registers, but not the discomfort. At impact, Amy's pain sensors start firing. They don't run straight to the brain. They go via the spinal cord. As they enter the vertebra, they pass through a gate. Buried in tissue with the consistency of jelly is the meeting of two nerves, known as a synapse. Jumping a tiny gap, the signal passes from nerve to nerve and on up the spinal column toward the brain. These junctions have a special property. They can be turned off. It gives the brain amazing power. To suppress pain, the brain orders the release of endorphins. They flow down to the junctions in the spinal cord, where they smother the synapse, stopping the pain signals from jumping across. The result? No sense of pain. These natural painkillers are stronger than morphine. And whenever the pressure is on, the brain can unleash their power.
The brain is appraising the situation and saying now is not the time to experience pain.
Amy's brain knew that feeling pain wouldn't help her. Blocking it might give her precious time to act.
The first thing that I did was to treat the more obvious injuries. The first danger was that I would simply bleed to death from the open wound that was my right knee. So I poured antibiotic ointment, or actually hydrogen peroxide, on my knee and bandaged it up, tying it as tightly as I dared because I had to stop the bleeding.
Amy has fallen far from any help. To have a hope of rescue, she needs to get herself off the mountain and closer to a trail. Battered, bleeding, Amy crawls for 2 days. Throughout, she keeps her mind off the pain thanks to the endorphins unleashed by her nervous system. When rescuers do find her, Amy relaxes. The endorphins stop, and pain floods her body.
The moment at which I truly felt the pain was when I was loaded into the stretcher. It was absolutely excruciating. It was the kind of mind-numbing, screaming, horrible pain where I had no ability to focus on anything but how bad it was.
Had she been feeling this way all along, Amy never would have made it down the mountain. But by blocking pain, her nervous system helped her survive